The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, 1843, Christmas edition. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me, nor given me insult. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh, so gently. I put in a dark lantern, all closed, that no light shone out. And I moved very slowly so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. And then I undid the lantern cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just enough for a single thin ray fell upon the eye, and this I did for 7 long nights. But I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work, for it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. Upon the 8th night, perhaps he heard me, for he sprang up on the bed suddenly, as if startled. His room was as black with darkness, so I knew that he could not see me. I waited an hour. Finally, I was about to open the lantern when my thumb clicked upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in bed crying out, "Who's there?" For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, nor did I hear him lie down. He was still sitting up on the bed listening, just as I had been, night after night. I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or of grief, oh no. It was a low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with fear. I knew he had been lying awake ever since the first noise. His fears had ever since been growing upon him. He tried to fancy them causeless, but could not. Yes, he had been trying to comfort himself with these suspicions, but he had found them all in vain. When I had waited a long time without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it ever so slightly until a single dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot out and fell upon the eye. It was open, wide open. I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with such perfect distinctness, dull blue with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow of my bones. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray as if by instinct, precisely upon the eye. The old man's terror must have been extreme, for I could hear his heart beat, until I thought his heart must burst. The old man's hour had come. He shrieked only once, and then smiled to find the deed done. But for many, many minutes, his heart beat on with a muffled sound. At length it ceased. He was dead. I placed my hand upon his heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was dead. His eye would trouble me no more. I dismembered the corpse and hid it under the planks of the flooring in the chamber. The next morning, there was a knock at the door from 3 policemen. A shriek had been heard in the night by a neighbor, and there was a suspicion of foul play, and so the officers had been sent to search. I smiled. For what had I to fear? I invited them in and led them all over the house. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I even led them to his chambers. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs in the room for all of us to rest. In the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat above the planks where I hid the body. The officers were satisfied. They sat and chatted of familiar things. But I found myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached and I fancied a ringing in my ear. But the officers still chat and smiled. The ringing became more distinct. It was a low, dull, quick sound. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. Why would they not be gone? Oh God, what could I do? It grew louder, and still the officers said pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? No, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. Billy! stumble no more. I admit the deed here, and it's the beating of his hideous heart.